Philly in a familiar perch atop the NFC East. As I mentioned, that 6-game winning streak. Washington heads home to take on Dallas next week. Damien Woody is in studio. Lots to digest here. Let's start with this. The highlight, we showed the 4th down run where they bobble it and Daniels gets blasted. As I mentioned, there was a 2nd and 1 and a 3rd and 1 that went nowhere. It was Robinson right up the middle. 4th down, under 8 to go on the road in a 12-10 game, and you are upstairs screaming what?
Take the points. Take the points. Your defense has been balling the whole game. Offense clearly struggling. And I think, for all the people out here who hate analytics, this would drive home their point right here. That scenario, because you got to have a feel for how the game is going. Your offense just hasn't done anything all game. You got an opportunity to go up 13-12. You played them to a draw.
Yeah.
Why do it?
And again, I mean, this is where there is, I think, a disconnect between what numbers on a page say and what had just happened in this game. And I don't know what plays Cliff Kingsbury's got. Maybe you got one in your back pocket for this very situation, and the bobbled snap it became FUBAR at that point. I don't know. But 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, you actually backed up, right? You lost yardage on those 2 plays. And in that scenario, in a game where, despite the fact that you'd been outgained, you got to snap a hold in the kick to take the lead and then take your chances. And from there, again, this is another thing. Whether you believe momentum is real or not.
Momentum is a tricky thing.
It seemed to be wearing an Eagles jersey after that. The big and again, the big play where Goddard has the ball punched out, but Calcaterra, the one eagle in the screen, lands on it. And then Saquon, it's night-night with him, $146 and those 2 large touchdowns. How do we even begin to quantify the value of that player to this team?
I don't think we can. I mean, you talk about bang for your buck in the offseason.
And you took him from a division rival. Wow.
Like, I can only imagine what John Murrah, the Giants owner, like what he's going through this whole season, just watching what Saquon Barkley has been doing for the Philadelphia Eagles. This man is going to haunt that team for a while.
We've all got our text thread, right, with our boys, and the constitution of my group is it's almost broken down very evenly, and it's interesting because we're a bunch of University of Maryland people. So you got obviously a bunch of Washington fans, then you got a ton of Giant fans, then you got a ton of Eagle fans. So the Eagle fans are just heckling the Giant fans unmercifully. Thank you so much for Saquon, but he has been such a difference maker, particularly, Damien, in a game where you do have a yards advantage, and now you've got the lead and the ball, and how do you want to put this game to bed? You can ride it on the running game, and there's just been nobody other than maybe Derrick Henry that I think has been any better than Saquon. But this Philly team's now won 6 in a row, and this is by far the best win in that group. How significant is this win against this team who came up there driving up 95 trying to make a statement?
Huge win, because I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles are now 2 games up in that division. So to be able to get a divisional game at your place against an up-and-coming Washington Commanders team, big win for the Philadelphia Eagles. And listen, as much as we've been talking about the Detroit Lions in the NFC, we better start talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, because you're talking about just personnel. Who has better personnel than the Philadelphia Eagles right now? No one. Nobody has better personnel, and they're playing some really good football.
They are, and I think that, listen, there's been such excitement in this area because of Jaden Daniels, and they've been bad for a long time. We get it, and their record's still okay, and they've got Dallas and Tennessee coming in ahead of a bye. But for all the talk of Daniels, this Philadelphia defense, who has really been balling, largely bottled him up in this game. What did they do best?
Well, first of all, they couldn't get the run game going. That's the one thing that the Washington Commanders have really done well. They've really been able to run the football. I know
under 100 combined.
Combined, Washington is one of the better rushing football teams in the National Football League. I know Brian Robinson Jr. has missed a couple games, but even when he came back for this game, they did a fantastic job of bottling him up. And then there was nothing down the field.
Nothing.
There was no explosive plays down the field for Scary Terry.
He had one catch in this game, and that was just in advance of them deciding not to go for the field goal, which could have given them the lead. But they largely bottled up and prevented any looks downfield at all. They kept everything in front of them all night.
Yeah, it's so hard when you don't have to get explosive plays in the passing game. It's so hard to really drive the length of the field and score touchdowns. And I just feel like the Philadelphia Eagles on defense, they've actually been doing this for about the past 5 or 6 games. It's really turned it around on the defensive side, not giving up a whole bunch of explosive plays.
Okay, let's start off. Biggest play, obviously, to go for it, and 4th down and 2 at the 26. Bold call, but I would also say we were prepared for that moment. Don't love the execution, but we've been an excellent 4th down team. So going into it, we knew we'd have to take our shots against a tough division team on the road. We thought that was an appropriate one. Certainly don't like the execution and the result, but we were prepared for that and being bold into those moments, knowing we'd have some 4th downs. But that's one we can fix. Thought 3rd down on both sides was tough, especially offensively tonight. And like I said, a game like this puts you through the resilience. And love to say that the season's going to go all along smoothly, but you know the adversity comes and hits. And like I said, tough division game on the road. So glad it opened up to you guys with questions and get started.
On the 4th and 2, how much does it factor? Like they were starting to move the ball and make some stuff. Did that factor the decision?
It did. Yeah, all of it did. But we also felt strongly, so I guess I felt even more strongly there, John, just because of that.
Jaden had his hand cut. Did that factor in at all to maybe bobble a little bit?
No, not for that one. I think just the execution of the play got junked up.
Just Jaden in general, obviously the offense was off most of the game. What do you think of his performance and kind of what was not working?
Yeah, I thought always when you talk about the entire thing, you want to say, where can we do it better and how can we hit it better? And so more often than not, it's an entire, group. Can we hit this part? Can we hit this part? And last week we had talked about, opportunities that had been missed. And so when we go back and look at the tape tonight, Ben, we'll have a better sense for that. But more than anything, man, being able to get our explosive plays going, like that's part of, who we are and how we do it. So it was good to have Brian back in it tonight, and but not to have the execution that we were, counting on. That left a mark.
Again, it's easy to say, why didn't you do it? Because it didn't work. Entering Thursday's game, the Commanders were tied with Buffalo at 11 for 12 on 4th down. That's the best in the NFL. The only other failed attempt was in the fourth quarter last week against the Steelers. That was the 4th and 9 from midfield that we all wondered, did they get to the 41 on that conversion to Ertz? Because there were some that thought maybe they did. They got marked short. That ended up being a loss, and this ended up being a loss as well. Saquon, with some thoughts on the dub.
I probably got to be a little more careful with letting the ball go. I didn't get to see it yet, but I was told I was kind of close. That's the fun part of the game. You get to go out there, run around, play like a little kid, and let your personality show, but still got to be within the rules and, the ball first, taking care of the ball. Just in a little kid mode right there. Kind of used to do that at Penn State, so it's good to bring that back out.
Saquon, the offense probably wasn't what you guys wanted for the first half. But what would say about you guys were able to get going in that second half?
That's football. That's a good team over there. We know we're going to see them again. It tells you that this team, we don't panic. We trust in each other. We just every time we're out there, we're positive. We're speaking positive. We know one of us, somebody's going to come up and make the play. In the run game, we felt like we were just one off. I was one read off. We were one block off. And within the last 7 minutes, really started with Kenny. Kenny got in there, got things going, opened up for me a little bit, and the O-line, we just kept leaning on them and trusting them and popped it off at the end.
This is a Philly team that has a whole bunch in that locker room that's been through trips to the Super Bowl, part of last year where they were really good record-wise, and then it all went wrong late. So a lot of them have been in situations like this. But for a team that's on the build, right, for a team like Washington on the come-up, where you've now lost 2 in a row, the 2 best teams you played, Pittsburgh and Philly back-to-back, and this is a game where in the 4th quarter you're down 2 and you make a decision which blows up pretty significantly.
Yep.
How demoralizing in the right word, how damaging are these 2 games in a row to a team that's trying to figure out, are we good enough?
I think Dan Quinn, to me, is building it the right way.
Okay.
I have faith in Dan Quinn, and I think that they've brought in a really good set of players in that locker room. They knew it was going to be tough. Like, they were going to run into some challenges. Obviously, playing the Steelers and the Eagles back-to-back weeks proved that, like, yeah, we still got some work to do. But I don't see this team giving up. They still can go wherever they want to go. But they're a young ball club that's still ascending in my book.
And it is interesting to take a look at a snapshot of the next couple of weeks. And as we know, it doesn't need to be said, but I'll say it. Anything can happen in the National Football League. Eagles have to hit the road to take on the Rams and then the Ravens, where Washington comes home and plays a banged-up Cowboy team and a Titan team that has obviously struggled in ahead of a bye, then a trip to New Orleans before Philly comes there. So I don't know if you're going to call anybody a get-right game in the NFL. I don't feel like those really exist. But if you're Washington, you're supposed to be good, then you ought to come home and be able to get right.
Absolutely. You know, you got, again, we're talking about a Dallas team that's really banged up. Dak Prescott most likely out for the year. So this is a game, a divisional game you should be able to win. And if you just look at the schedule, you just talked about it.
Sure.
Those games that you just listed for the Washington Commanders, you should be favored in all of those games.
For sure.
And with the bye week included in that. So the next time you see the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to be playing for something again at that next game in Washington.
We'll see. We'll see. But listen, make no mistake about it. The Philadelphia Eagles welcomed a team to town that was new to this, and Philadelphia looked like what they were. The home team, who was favored, that's more familiar with the stakes and the stage, and they performed that way in the final 15 minutes. I mean, this feels like the appropriate outcome. I do think Washington will look at that decision and wonder, if we kick, does it go a different way? Is that fair to say, even though the final result ends up looking more like a significant win?
I would. You know, again, you could be up 13-12. It's a totally different view on the ball game.